There we go. All right. So to get started, you're going to log into your command account. Hopefully everyone knows and understands how to log in. You'd go to agent.kw.com if you're unsure of how to get there, and then you would use your login credentials for command. Typically the first initial of your first name and your last name, and there might be a number for the username. When you log in, if you have not created the opportunity, you want to go in and you want to either go to your contact section on the left-hand side or the opportunities dashboard, which is the handshake icon. You can hover over these to get to them or click on KW. It expands the menu and you'd be able to go to either contacts or opportunities. If you go through the contact record, you would create the contact or go to an existing contact. Or if you go to the opportunities dashboard, the create opportunity button is going to be right on the upper right-hand side. So that's if you haven't created the opportunity yet. Throughout this class today, guys, feel free to unmute, type in the chat box, let me know when you have any questions. So now, once you create the opportunity, you're going to navigate back into the opportunity to upload the documents. So we are going to navigate into an opportunity. I like to go through the contact record. You can go through the contacts or the opportunities dashboard. So if I go through the contacts, I'm going to navigate to that contact. And when I pull up the contact record, we're going to see all of the contact information on the left-hand side. And then on the right is everything we can do with that contact. So we're going to click on opportunities. When you click on opportunities, if you've started the transaction and created the opportunity already, which you want to do in the very beginning, you will have your existing opportunity under this opportunities tab. So if it's an existing opportunity, you're going to click directly on the opportunity name. It's actually a hyperlink that you can click on. So you're going to click on there. And it brings you into the opportunity. So this is specific to this contact. So Mickey Mouse's contact info, this transaction is all connected to him. So you won't see Jane Doe's information in this opportunity. All of the details for the opportunity are going to be under the details tab. Just remember that when you're initially starting the opportunity, you want to make sure you're filling in as much information as possible in this details section. So if you click on these small pencils, you can click on them and edit any of the info. But if you've already created the opportunity, already gone into DocuSign through the opportunity, you won't have to do any of this because it has already been synced to DocuSign. By putting in more details here, you're saving yourself time in DocuSign with filling in the information. So let's pretend you've already sent your documents out to your client. You are ready to start uploading those documents for compliance review so that you can get paid. You're going to click on Documents, and it's going to pull up your document section. This is a buyer opportunity. So in this buyer opportunity on the left-hand side, you're going to see consultation, under contract, and closed. If it were a listing opportunity, you'll see listed, under contract, and closed. If it's a rental, there are different fields on the left-hand side as well. So you just want to make sure that you have when you create the opportunity, you have the right type selected. So it was a buyer opportunity. That's why I'm getting these folders for under contract and closed. If it was a listing, you would need the listed folder. So if this is coming up as a buyer, you have to go back and create a new opportunity because you won't have the right checklist within these folders to upload the documents to. Any questions on how I got into this opportunity or got to this point? All right. Remember, don't be afraid to unmute or type in the chat box. So in here, we're going to navigate into the different folders. With our office, when it's a buyer opportunity, you do not need to use the consultation section. So this area is blank. We don't review the consultation section, so you can leave that as is and not upload anything there. We do review everything in the under contract and closed. If you create a custom folder, we don't review those. This could be for text message correspondence, email correspondence, anything like that, you can upload to a custom folder if you choose to. But the only ones we're actually reviewing, our compliance team, would be under contract and closed. So we're going to start with the under contract folder. So again, we're pretending that we already completed these forms, our clients have signed, and we have signed the documents. Because once you've done that, you're ready to start uploading the documents. So when we click on under contract, you're going to see the full checklist of all of the documents that are either required, conditionally required, or optional. Conditionally required does not mean optional. A lot of people assume it does, and it doesn't. It's based on that transaction. You may or may not need that document. So in this dashboard here, you're going to see that we're on the under contract section. You have a few different columns in here. So we're going to go over those so you know and understand what they mean. The status section would be if you've not uploaded documents, it will say not uploaded. If you've uploaded documents, you'll see uploaded. If you've submitted the documents for review, it will say submitted. If they've been returned to you, you'll see that there's a note that says that it's returned, and then there'll be comments as to why it was returned. And if it's approved, you'll see that the status is approved. The next column is requirement. So that's where you can see if it's a required document, conditionally required, or optional. The document, this column here just lists the name of the document that you need to upload. The type of document, so we need to obviously indicate what type of document it is when we create these checklists. So you may see that it says other, disclosure, contract, etc. So that's just the type of document. It really doesn't affect anything that you're doing. It's just something we have to put in. Then the most important part when you're trying to get things submitted and get everything in, over here on the right-hand side is file. So you have to choose where you're uploading your files from. So you could attach files from DocuSign or Dotloop if you're using Dotloop, or from your computer. So my computer would be a manual upload from your desktop. So you would have scanned those documents, and then you can go to your computer and upload them. So if I select that, you're going to see that this menu under File will change to drop your file here and browse. Now, most of the time, if you created the opportunity in Command first, and then you clicked on Start a Transaction, which would be right up here, then you would be using either DocuSign or Dotloop. Typically, you wouldn't need to upload from your computer then. Once you click on Start a Transaction on the upper right-hand side, it will say Go to Transaction. So let's say you use DocuSign, which most of the agents in the office do. If you use Dotloop, that's okay too, because in this dropdown where it says Attach Files From, you should either see My Computer, DocuSign, or Dotloop. So let's say it's DocuSign. We're going to select DocuSign, and then you'll see Working Folder, because you can have separate folders within your DocuSign account. And from that dropdown, you would have different folders. So it might be listed, under contract, closed. You might have different folders for each of them. So the working folder, typically it defaults to the room docs, but if you do create those separate folders, you could select from that dropdown. So now once we navigate to where we're uploading the files from, then we're ready to go to each of these placeholders. So where the document name is a placeholder. And you can go to the drop-down menu and select the signed version of the document. Only the fully executed signed versions will be in here, and any certifications, which is just proof that it was electronically signed. So before I move forward with actually uploading those documents, does anybody have questions about how we get to that drop-down menu or getting this checklist? Okay. Again, guys, feel free to unmute, type in the chat box as you have any questions. All right, so once we select where we're attaching the files from, then you're going to go to the drop-down menu for each individual document. So the first drop-down menu, you're going to see that we have some completed signed versions of the documents. So right now I'm looking for the consumer notice because I'm on that placeholder right here. So in the drop-down menu, I'm not going to use the certification, so don't worry about that. But I can see that the consumer notice is right here. Now, sometimes you will have a long list of documents. You might have done 15 to 20 documents at once. So you'll have a long list in this drop-down menu rather than just the 3 that are here. You can actually type in this field where it says select. So you don't have to scroll all the way through. You can click right in that box and you can start typing in the name of the document. And you'll see that it starts to appear. So any document that has consumer or notice in the name of the document, you're going to see in that drop-down menu now. So one of the documents is gone because it's not a consumer notice. So then you can select that document and it puts it right where it needs to be in the checklist of documents for compliance review. Now, before you submit to the office, if you notice that maybe you uploaded a document to the wrong placeholder in here, you can click on the 3 dots right over here and you can actually remove it. Now that's before you submit to the Market Center. Once you submit, you no longer can remove, you can only replace the documents. You can also conveniently print from this section now as well. In the past, we weren't able to do that and we'd have to go into DocuSign or Dotloop and go in and print them. So you can click on print and then it would download the document and print it and you'd have it readily available. So you don't have to go through DocuSign or Dotloop. So that's uploading the first document. Then you want to navigate down and find the second placeholder for whatever document you're looking to upload. So let's say I just go to the next placeholder and it's affiliate services disclosure. When you click on there, you're going to see any remaining documents that haven't been uploaded. And you're going to see, okay, I don't have the affiliate services, but just in case, if I start typing in here, no, there's no options. So I didn't do the affiliate services yet. So I'd need to go back into DocuSign or Dotloop and complete that form and send it to my client for signature. So now we want to navigate down and find the placeholder for the next document we want to upload. So in this instance, the next document is actually the buyer's agency that I had completed. So I'm going to go to this dropdown and you'll see again, the certification will be there. So I'm going to go to the next document. So in this instance, I don't need to scroll because there's not a lot of documents, but it's right there. So I can click on it and now it's uploaded to the placeholder where I need it. So now at this point, you're going to see any documents that you've uploaded. Now you don't have all of the required documents uploaded into this field. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to wait until you have the other required documents available to upload and then submit to the office. Once you submit to the office, you could be submitting a number of times. What I mean by that, if you've listed the property and you upload all of your documents and you submit for review and it's approved, then you're waiting for it to go under contract and then you'll be submitting the under contract folder for review. And then once it closes, you're submitting for review. So you're submitting your files anywhere from 2 to 3 or more times. Because if it was returned to you, you need to go through and you need to make those changes. And you need to resubmit to the office so we can review them and approve them. So before I proceed at all, does anyone have questions about uploading or at what points to upload the documents?
Colleen,
Yes, go ahead, Janine.
I just wanted to clarify. I'm sorry I was late.
No, you're okay.
But so like when I get a listing, you
Yes.
actually put everything into the MLS and stuff, and then you submit or you submit before you actually put it into the MLS? I want to make sure I'm
So
understanding correct.
thank you for asking that question. Great question. So when it's a listing, you have to wait until you've entered it in the MLS to
Okay.
submit. You can upload any documents that you have fully executed, but on the listing side, you'll need a copy of the MLS sheet and the CRS tax record. So
Okay.
you won't be able to submit to the office until you have those, so it would have to be in the MLS.
Okay, I
But
probably would have figured that out during it, but I figured I would just ask because I haven't actually listed and I wanted to see when you said about the listing. I understand the buyer side, but then the listing side, I'm thinking, okay, so I'm supposed to submit right after the MLS and then again for the other stuff. Gotcha.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. So then great question. So then once you have that fully executed, it's entered in the MLS, it's a live listing, you want to get that submitted to the office as soon as possible.
Okay.
Because if the real estate commission were to come in and need to see the file, this is how we see your files.
Okay. Makes sense.
So great question. Thank you
Thank
for asking
you.
that. So then once you've listed the property, it's submitted, then you're waiting for it to go under contract. Once it goes under contract, meaning the agreement of sale is fully executed, all signatures, initials, dates, everything is completed, then you would be uploading to the under contract folder and submitting to the office. What you'll notice up here on the upper right, you'll always know the status of the transaction within Command. So the status right now is open. What that means is you have not submitted your folder to compliance for review. So a lot of people will be like, I'm waiting to get paid. I don't know why I haven't been paid. And sometimes we'll come in and it'll say open, and it's because they didn't submit to the office. So you have to make sure that you're clicking on submit to MC, and then it will be reviewed and will either mark it as approved or returned. If something is returned to you, then you will get a comment from our compliance team. So there's an add comment section. They tag you in the comment. So when you click on add comment, they will tag whoever it might be. So you put the @ symbol and then the person's name, and they'll send you that message. The notification for those messages will come to the notification bell up here in Command. Some of you may have it set up that you get an email, because you can change your notification settings. Some of you may have it set up that you can get an email. Some of you have it set up that you get a push notification through the Command app. So there are multiple ways that you're going to find out if you're missing anything, if you missed initials, anything like that, or something is wrong with the file, you'll be notified. Now, on the flip side of that, if you wanted to reach out to compliance or myself or Karen or Bob Hay through this system, you can actually go into add comment, and this is specific to the transaction that you'd want to reach out to them about. You can click on add comment, and you can tag any of us by clicking selecting at, and then you can see the list of the leadership team members. So if you wanted to send Bob a message about that specific file, Karen, myself, some of the OPs are in here. Do not reach out to them. There's no need to. The main compliance person is Heather. So you would put in the @ symbol and then tag Heather, and then you can type in a note and then add reply, and then she'll get a notification that you sent her a comment for that specific file. If you don't put the @ symbol and her name, she does not get notified, so there would be a delay in her responding to you until she actually went into the comments and looked at them. So there's a chance that she might never see the comment, because you have to make sure you're tagging her if you want to ask her anything. Any questions on that, on adding comments or anything? So then once you click on status on the upper right-hand side, so once you submit, the status will change to submitted, approved, or returned. So if we submit to MC, I'm just going to pretend, you would click on, are you sure you want to submit for review? You're going to click on submit. And obviously we're going to return this one because it's incomplete, but you'll notice that the status has now changed to submitted. Once it's submitted, then our compliance team will go in, mainly Heather. Heather will go in and review the file and then let you know if you're good to go by approving it, or if you need to make any changes by returning it with the comments. So any questions on file upload, on submitting, on adding comments? All right. So that is all you have to do. You have to, for this portion, for submitting documents, you have to make sure though that you are submitting early and often, because you don't want to, at the point of closing out the property, when you're going to the close folder and you're uploading your documents, you don't want to go through and start uploading listed and under contract at the same time as the closing. Because if you missed initials, signatures, or dates on the listed paperwork, you're going to have to go back to your client and get those initials, signatures, or dates. And if it's already closed, they're going to wonder why they have to sign off on this when it's already done. So make sure you're submitting at the point when it's listed, when it's under contract and closed. And I know I keep saying the same thing, but it's really important that you guys make sure you're doing that. Because we have some agents that are waiting until everything's fully closed, and you can't do that. Now, if you're in this checklist as well, and you find that the document isn't there that you need to upload, but you really thought that you did it, you can click on Go to Transaction, and it will launch a new window in DocuSign or Dotloop that you can go through and see if the document is there. Every now and then, a certain PDF, if you uploaded it to DocuSign or Dotloop, it won't appear in the dropdown. It doesn't happen often, but it could. So you can go to Transaction and find that document and download it as well. But there's always the option of attaching files from either your computer or DocuSign or Dotloop. So that is the document section. Now we're going to move on to the really fun part where we do the offers and commissions, which is a breakdown of you getting paid. So before I move forward, any questions whatsoever on the uploading of documents or submitting? Now, Janine had mentioned about the listing side. So if I go back to this contact, I think I have a listed opportunity as well. So I just want to show you the difference where it doesn't say consultation under contract and closed. It will say the listing side of it. So if we go into the listing for Mickey Mouse, again, you're going to see the details and you can go over to documents. And it's a little bit different because you're going to see now that under residential, you're going to have listed, under contract, and closed. So rather than consultation, it will say listed. So a little bit different, but again, same concept. You're going to go into listed and then same thing. You're going to go to each individual placeholder and you're going to upload the fully executed documents. Now, again, if you didn't create the opportunity yet, you want to go back and you're going to go to either the opportunities icon here, the handshake, or the contacts, and you're going to create your opportunity. You're going to fill in your opportunity form, which we talk about during our DocuSign overview class. You're going to go into the opportunity form and you're going to go through and you're going to fill in anything with a red asterisk. The most important part is that opportunity type. So you want to make sure you're selecting between listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant. If you are in the coaching team, you want to make sure that the team is showing up. So it would be under Pro Coach. And then once you fill in everything with a red asterisk, you're going to create. And that's how you create the opportunity. Now, once you create it, you're going to, I'm going to just quickly go through this because I know a couple people prior to class had some questions on this. So if you go through and you're going to select Mickey Mouse for this one, and you create the opportunity, it's going to go in and create the listing opportunity, and you're going to go to documents. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick the checklist type. This is important because it could be a residential home or it could be land. So you want to make sure you're selecting the right type under this dropdown. So you're going to select residential in this instance, then you'll see your checklist, and then you can click on Start a Transaction. And if you have DocuSign and Dotloop, in this dropdown over here, you're going to be able to choose between DocuSign and Dotloop. And that's how you launch into the forms provider to actually fill in the forms to send to your clients for e-signature or print for appointments. So that's how you get started with the opportunity, which isn't really what we were going over today, but I wanted to make sure everyone understood. And then you're coming back in here and uploading the fully executed documents for compliance review. So any questions on any of that so far? Creating the opportunity, uploading documents, submitting to the office? Make sure there's nobody in the chat. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to work on the offers and commissions tab. So first, I'm going to go back and remove this so I can actually create it. 1 second. So the offers and commissions tab is really important. You actually want to submit, usually when you're under contract, unless it's a rocky deal, you may want to wait until inspections have happened, but you really don't want to wait until closing. Some people do, but we don't recommend it. You want to submit your commission as soon as possible because that's one step closer to getting it closed out and you getting paid. So the offers and commissions section is where we go for the breakdown of how you're going to be paid. So when we do that, you're going to click on offers and commissions, and I'm actually going to go and edit the offer. So the first step you're going to see is it says offer name, which it's a required field, but it's going to default to initial offer. So we're going to leave that as is. Then you're going to see the property address. So the property address in here, I've already filled it in and proceeded, but what you want to do, you don't want to type in this field, you want to click select from KWLS. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to navigate to a different opportunity to explain this because that one's already completed. So let's do this. So when you click on offers and commissions, it's going to look like this when you initially go in. First time you're going in there, it's going to say offer timeline. There are no offers for this deal. You're going to click on add new offer. And this part's a formality. So you have to make sure that you're filling in this offer section to proceed to the commission section. So in here, you're going to see that the offer name is going to be the initial offer. You can change that if you want to, but you don't have to. Then you're going to see property address. A lot of people just go into this field and start typing. I would not recommend doing that because most likely it's going to tell you that the listing does not exist. So what I would recommend doing is clicking on select from KWLS. When you click on select from KWLS, you're going to see any listings that you currently have will be in this list on the right-hand side where it says property address. You can type in the street address. You can use the MLS number to find the property. When you do, then you're going to navigate and find the property that you want to connect to this offers and commissions, and you're going to click on select. Once you do that, it will embed that address into the offer section here where the property address is. If for any reason, because this one has been coming up a lot, if for any reason you get to this section, you search for the address, whether it's the street address or the MLS number, and you cannot find the property, you're going to try two things. The first is you're going to check if show says only my listings. If it does, you're going to go to that drop-down menu and you're going to select all listings. Usually by doing this, you can find the listing and select it. If ultimately it still isn't showing up, that address is just not pulling through to the internal listing system, the Keller Williams listing system, you're going to click on Create MC Exclusive Listing. This should not be the default. You guys should be able to find it under My Listings or All Listings. But if ultimately you cannot find it, you have to create MC Exclusive Listing. So before I move forward at all, I know that's a lot of info and we haven't even gotten fully into the commissions tab yet, but does anybody have questions about how I got to this point to start adding in the address to attach to the offers and commissions? Okay, we are going to move forward then. So let's say worst case scenario, the listing is not appearing in this dropdown. So we're going to go through and we're going to create an MC exclusive listing. This also works for off-market properties, happens every now and then, so you may need to go here and input the information. So in here, you want to fill in anything with a red asterisk. So the listing category, you're going to choose between other, for rent, for sale, sold, off market, sale and rent, rented, leased. So let's just say we're going to do for sale for this one. Then the listing agent should default to your name. So you're going to leave that as is. Then the listing classification, the property type, you're going to select between business opportunity, commercial, common interest, farm and agriculture, lots and land, manufactured and park, vacation ownership, residential income, and other. Typically it's going to be residential, but if you have one of the other options, you can select it. Once you select residential, then you're going to go to the property subtype. When you go to the property subtype, you're going to choose between apartment, condominium, manufactured home, single family attached, single family detached, multifamily, adult community, vacation home, or there are some other options as well. So what we're going to select today, I'm just going to say that it's a single family detached. Hopefully you have the expiration date based on your listing contract. So I'm just going to go in and say that it expires on the 31st of May. The listing date automatically filters through, so we're going to leave that as is because it's putting today as that date. The pricing details, what is the current price? So we're going to say, let's just say it's $150. And then if you have an original price, so if it wasn't showing up and you have the original price as well, based on the listing contract, you can plug that in, but it's not required. Again, anything with a red asterisk has to be filled in. Then we're going to go to the street address. So this is where you're filling in all of the information for the street. So we're going to go through and it will try and pull the information through. So as you can see, it's populating the information. Let's do 132 Test Street. So you're just going through and filling in everything with a red asterisk. Okay, then we're going to scroll down and then under legal disclaimer, you're going to say, I understand and agree. And then at that point, you're going to create and select listing. So before I get out of this screen, does anyone have any questions about creating an MC exclusive listing or attaching their listing to the offers and commissions? Okay, so then we're going to click on create and select listing. All right, create and select. So as you can see now, that listing, the property address has been attached to our offer section here. So you don't need to edit anything, it's attached now. So now we're going to proceed and fill in anything with a red asterisk. The property type, okay, we're going to do residential for this one. The classification, is it a resale, a new home, a multifamily, a lot, a farm, or a ranch? So let's just say for this one, it's a resale. We are working on one side of the transaction. So if you have both sides, you're still going to only put one unit because it's one side of the transaction. If you have both sides, you're going to have a separate opportunity and a separate offers and commissions tab. So it's one unit on this side, one unit on that side. Then we're going to proceed. You're going to see that some of the information is auto-filled based on what we put in the detail section. And then you're going to see buyer info. So you're going to go through and let's just say it's going to be Donald Duck. That's the buyer in this instance. If you have the buyer's agent representative's name, which you would from the agreement of sale, you can plug that information in. And then we're down to the terms and dates. So the sales price of the property, I believe in the beginning I said it was 150. So we'll go with 150,000. Now, let's say maybe they're paying cash for the property. So instead of 150 there, we can go into cash and maybe, there we go. You can start typing it in and just make sure $0 is showing up there. Okay. It's not autofilling. It's supposed to autofill to say 150,000 once we put in the cash amount, but it didn't, so we'll just type it in there. If there is no cash amount, if it's all financed, you can do $0 in the cash field, and then finance amount will automatically update to 150,000. If there is seller's assist, or your commission was deducted, or the sales price has been reduced, you would adjust it in this section. So let's say there's a $5,000 seller's assist that you're not being paid on. So if we go in here, we can adjust based on what the adjustment should be for the seller's assist. Now, earnest money. You do not have to plug in any of the information for the earnest percentage, the earnest amount. You can leave that blank. Then the contract date. Hopefully you have it and you can plug it in. If you don't, you should be able to proceed without it at this point. So if we plug in, let's say it went under contract, I don't know, 20th of March. And then the closing date for this one, we're going to say it's closing at the end of this month. That is all you have to fill in. You will notice at the bottom of this section, you do have to add a comment. Well, you don't have to, but you can add a comment. We don't read the ones that come through here. You have to wait until you get to the commission section. Those are the ones that we'll read. So I would not worry about putting anything in the comments here. So again, we filled in all of the information. Make sure you're selecting from KWLS rather than just typing it in. Otherwise, you will get an error message. And then once everything with a red asterisk is filled in, we're going to create and accept offer to get to our commission section. So as far as the offer section here, does anyone have questions about how to fill it in or what to fill in? All right, we're going to keep going then. We're going to click on create and accept offer. Once you do that, you'll see green check marks all on the bottom right-hand side, and it brings you to this screen, which is the commission overview. This is the most important part, guys. This is the fun part because this is when you're going to get paid. So this is the breakdown of what you're going to be paid. So in this section, the first section that you're going to see is the general information. So this is under commission overview. You are not going to use the add contingencies button. You're going to leave that alone. Don't click on it. Don't use it. The first section here is general information. So if, pardon me, if the sales price has changed, then you would want to go in and adjust accordingly. To adjust that, you're going to click on edit general information, and you're going to go through and you can update the sales price. You can update the units, but it's balanced, so you don't need to. And then you can see who the agents are on the transaction, the contract date, and the closing date. So if the contract date or the closing date has changed, you can go in and you can edit that information. Then anytime you make any edits, just like any other program, you want to make sure you save the changes. Now, once you've done that, now you're ready to proceed further down where it says commission information. You're going to see the listing commission. So we decided a little bit ago that this is a listing transaction that we were working on this side. So under this section, you're going to see a couple things that you're not actually going to use. The first of which is add co-broker. Our office does not use this section at all. If an outside agent needs to be paid, you are not using add co-broker. You're going to use add outside referral. So please don't ever use add contingencies. Please don't use add co-broker. So now you're going to see a breakdown of what you're getting paid. So you're going to see commission rate, commission amount, total concession, total bonus, and total outside referral. If there is an outside referral, you're going to click on add outside referral, and you're going to add in the information for that referral. Now, an outside referral would be out of our Keller Williams Pocono ecosystem. What I mean by that is the Stroudsburg office is part of Pocono. Milford, Tannersville, Albrightsville, Scioto, they are all part of our ecosystem. And the mega agent offices, which would include Bob Kelly's office, Jim Galligan's office, and Jim Chrisman's. So anytime if those agents are involved in the transaction, we would set it up differently. It wouldn't be an outside referral. An outside referral could be a RE/MAX agent. It could be an agent at the Keller Williams Scranton Wilkes-Barre Market Center. So it's anyone outside of our Keller Williams Pocono offices. When you have an outside referral, you need to make sure that you have the referral agreement and the tax ID number, which would be found on the W-9. If you don't obtain those, we will return the file to you because you will need to obtain them from that office. You cannot add the outside referral without a tax ID number, so you have to obtain the W-9 first. So if someone outside of the company needs to be paid a, let's say, 25% referral, you're going to type in 25% and you'll notice that the amount auto-calculated on the right-hand side there. Then under brokerage details, you can fill in the representative name. So that's the person that's receiving the referral at that office. So if I was sending it to Bill Chepko up in the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Market Center, I'm going to start typing his name for the representative name. Phone number, type of phone, you want to fill that in. Email address, if you have it, great, plug it in. If not, that's okay. The company name, that's right on the W-9. So that's how you know what to fill in these fields. Once you fill in all of the information, the address, the nickname, the legal name, the tax ID, then you're going to add the outside referral. When you do that, it will adjust your commission amount and change some of the different numbers that you put in to the commission section. This is for an outside referral. But let's say someone showed a property for me and I want to give them 25% of the transaction, but they're within Keller Williams Pocono. This one is a little bit different. So what you are going to do is you're going to go down under agent payment and you're going to add another agent. When you click on add another agent, this drop down here, when you start typing someone's name, it will populate the agent's name that's with Keller Williams Pocono. So if you start typing a name in here and they're not coming up, they're not with our office. So you'll quickly know, okay, I can't use this section. It has to be an outside referral. And then you would go through and you can split the unit. So originally we said it's one unit because it's one side of the transaction. But I want to give Janine, let's say 25%. So I need to adjust the units, not to 50, whoops. There we go. So once you adjust the percentage amount, you're going to have to change the dollar amount and everything. So before we do that, we're going to go back to your commission, your agent commission. We're going to edit it and we're going to change this to 0.75. If the system lets me, come on. There we go. So you're going to notice that, okay, it's telling me that it's out of balance because there's 0.25 units that need to still be dispersed to someone. So you do have to do a little bit of calculating here. So if you're splitting up the unit at all, you want to adjust the dollar amount. So right now the gross commission is $43.50. So if we type that into our calculators and then do 0.75, we need to adjust this to be $32.62.50. But you'll notice the system knows that there's still more money that needs to be paid out. So you're going to scroll down. If there were an outside referral, the outside money would be listed here. If you want to, let's say, pay KW Cares or KW NextGen and donate money to them, you could fill that in here. If you wanted to find out about your transaction fee, which is typically $50, if you're capped at $60, and any other deductions would be if you have direct deposit or anything like that, that would be 50 cents. You'll see that listed all in here under additional deductions and any of these sections here. One thing I want to mention, you're not going to use the add inside referral section. That should never be used. Our office does not use them. You don't need to use it. So contingencies, add co-broker, and add inside referral should never be used. And then you're going to save. Now we have to go back and we have to add that second agent in. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on add another agent. You're going to go through and select the other person that needs to be paid on the transaction. You're going to adjust the units because right now it's showing up as 0. So we're going to adjust and you'll see that there's 0 units left. And then you'll notice that there's still red in here. So we want to adjust that and we want to plug in whatever remains. And if there's any other deductions or anything, you can add them in and then you're going to save. What you'll notice over here on the right, you can actually see a summary breakdown of where the money is going. So you can see your commission amount, you can see if there were a co-broker, which we're not going to use, you can see the co-broker amount, bonus, concession, outside referrals, pay to office, so how much royalty you're paying in, how much company dollar. E&O, we don't pay through Command, that's added to your agent invoices. Bold, you pay separately, so that would never be added. Nonprofit deductions, so if you have KW Cares or KW Next Gen, you'll see that broken down on the right-hand side here. And then pay to agents, the most important part, how much money you guys are getting. You're going to see that your name will be listed and the amount that you'll be receiving is on the right. If everything is in balance, nothing has to be changed, then you're submitting to the office and it will be reviewed and returned to you if there's any errors. Maybe you added an outside referral but didn't add the tax ID number or didn't upload the form, it will be returned to you. Maybe you forgot to add another agent on the transaction, but you had informed us that there is another agent that needs to be paid, we would return it to you. If the dollar amounts are incorrect, we return it to you. If it's approved, we will approve it and then you'll be paid usually within 3 business days of it being processed. Usually it's quicker than that. And we do offer direct deposit or a paper check, whichever you prefer. So that is the commission section. I know there's a lot of information in there and we could go a deep dive again into it. There is another class coming up, so I can't deep dive fully into it again. But does anyone have questions at all on the offers or commission section here? And again, feel free to unmute, type in the chat box. Okay, well, that is how you prep to get paid, uploading your documents, getting them submitted for review, completing your offers and commissions tab. Once that's all complete, we can get you paid very quickly. So just make sure you're submitting early and often and getting it into us, and we'll get you paid pretty quickly. But any questions on anything we went over so far today?
Thanks, Colleen. I'm good now.
Perfect. Well, if you need help at all, just let me know.
You know I will.
I love it. Well, that's it, guys. Does anybody have any other questions? All right. Maria from Movement Mortgage, she has a class coming up at 2 o'clock on personal branding and she has a special guest. So if anybody is able to jump on there, I would highly recommend it. And that's all I have for today. If you have any class that you would like to see taught on technology or DocuSign or anything like that, just let me know. Drop me an email, call me, text me, let me know, and I will teach anything that you guys need help with. So please reach out to me, call, text, or email me with any questions. And thank you everyone for jumping on.
Awesome. Thanks, Colleen.
Thanks, guys. I hope everybody has a great day.